In the anime community, it's regularly discussed how terribly Shueisha treats the mangakas, and how, due to this, many of our beloved series don't reach their full potential. And while that's true, in other regards, they can neglect some of their greatest works. So in this video, I intend on showing you guys just how Shueisha treats two of his greatest stories like trash. So strap in, because I'm about to get real in depth with this video. But before I do get into the video, if you guys do enjoy content like this, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe. Also hype the video because running out of something. As I do post content like this regularly, and to be honest, it's a win-win. You actually will love support and give back to you in the form of videos. Whether it's anime, comics, or just fiction in general, in due time I'm covering it, so be there when I go there. But I feel like I've rambled on long enough, so I jump straight into the video to discuss how terribly Shueisha treats these two amazing works. Now to begin the video, this video is kind of going to be an outlook on Shueisha and how they treat certain things, but I wanted to use these two mangas as a massive just poster for you guys to see how they either just straight up disrespect legacies or they are trying to hinder one. And it's all baked into their already running system that has been going on for years. And if you are ill-informed or just don't know much about what Shueisha does, or not know who Shueisha is in the first place, well, let me explain it to you. Shueisha is the company that owns Shonen Jump and owns a lot of our favorite manga. That means from Naruto to Bleach, to One Piece, Dragon Ball, Kagurabachi, like all of the animes that you love, or mangas that you love I should say, they own. And so they can then distribute, and they obviously have the rights over many of the things that the show is able to do. Now, with that being said, because of the amount of just power they have, they can dictate many things. For instance, they can dictate whether your story gets a part 2. For instance, if Boruto didn't do that well, then Boruto Blue Vortex would not be going on. That is kind of how they monitor things. They can just cut your series whenever they want, and that's just how they are. Now, yes, obviously, if your story does get cut, then most of the time it does mean that it probably just wasn't good enough since people weren't picking it up, and I'm not really here to talk on that. What I'm here to talk on are the authors and mangakas that get past that point, they're doing really well, but you think that their life would get better, right? Well, not really, because number one, Shueisha does not pay them enough. That's one thing that you do need to know. The mangakas don't get paid nearly as much as you think they'd get paid. So that's their first strike. And if the amount that they were paying their mangakas got greater over time, I'd very much so understand it, because, well, you're a business and that's how businesses operate. Or even if this was how they just operated in the beginning, then I mean, yeah, I get it, you're trying to build a business, but you are one of the biggest conglomerates in the world right now, and you still don't pay your mangakas enough money. Now, yeah, at this point, a lot of the mangakas, realistically speaking, don't need that extra cash that they could get, but I mean, for the beginner ones, they definitely could be paid a little bit more. But moving that to the side, that's number one. Number two, their rough scheduling. This is the main thing that a lot of people do talk on whenever they do talk on Shueisha and how they just operate, and this is something that is going to be very, very pivotal to this video, because there is a mangaka out there that I truly do believe has the potential to be one of the greatest out there. I think he is one of the best out there right now, but to be one of the greatest all time, but they are treating him like trash, and that is Hokuzono. Now, if you don't know who Hokuzono is and what he writes and what he draws, it's Kagurabachi. And Kagurabachi is probably one of the more popular mangas out there right now. Just manga solely, just by itself, I'd say that, yeah, it's probably the most popular recent manga that has dropped. But the way Shueisha are treating him right now, with how he drops constantly, and maybe that could just be him just wanting to always drop and give his fans something, but then again, I feel like as a mangaka, he should know himself that he must take breaks. And the reason I don't believe it is him is because many other of your favorite mangakas, or people that made your favorite series, have gone through the exact same thing. For instance, Kohei Horikoshi, Gege Akutami, Taisei Kubo, Oda in the beginning. As we know, Oda does take way more breaks now, as he has gotten to that point where he kind of just grants it. Like, he could say, yeah, I want a break, and they're gonna give him that break because it's Eiichiro Oda. And we also have Togashi. Now, the reason these names are being brought up is because a lot of them have just illnesses or have things that have just permanently affected their body to the point where they can't produce their stories, and it has hindered their work. Goihara Koshi seems to have arthritis in his hand. That isn't a good thing. I don't think I really need to tell anybody that having arthritis under the age of 40 is a bad thing. Do I? I don't think I do. Oda, he had terrible eyesight, and yeah, you could say that maybe their way of living, because I'm not going to sit here and lie, Oda's way of living isn't the best, but then again, their way of living would be way better if the schedule and just how everything was formatted was changed. Yes, they do have the option to possibly go bi-weekly or just go monthly, as we did see that Araki did go monthly, and with his monthly schedule, as we've all said, Araki looks like he is in the best condition of his life, even though he's like 60. That is what going monthly can do to you. You can obviously refine what you're putting out, and you can make way better stories. The first thing that he did when he went monthly was he made Steel Ball Run. I and many others believe that that is one of the best pieces of fiction out there. So you can obviously tell that going monthly, yes, it may slow down your schedule, but then again, you get a lot of content, but the quality of the content that you get is high. But that's the thing though. You can't have a series like One Piece or even Kagurabachi at this point go monthly, because if you do, then who is going to carry that burden that they are carrying right now? Because when Araki did it, Naruto was still going, Bleach was still going, One Piece was in the thick of it. Like, there are a bunch of stories even past that point. You know, My Hero going, yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen, like JoJo was able to take that step back from the main light and just do what it needed to do, because it had so many other stories going on. So Shueisha was just still flooding in, and that was when Shueisha was starting to get big overseas. But as Jump isn't too saturated right now, I feel as though the burden that Hokuzono and Oda have to bear right now is kind of insane, because Hokuzono has to basically push out something every week. Now, as I said, it could just be him doing that, but I doubt he would want to put out something that is half done. Let's be realistic. I don't think he wants to do that, which means that it has to be Shueisha forcing him to put that out there, and the volume releases for his manga isn't going to come out for a very long time for where we are right now. And I would love, and I mean I would love, to put Kagurabachi up on the screen, but another thing that I'm going to talk about is the fact that they hate people putting this story out there. And the reason I think that is because inside of his manga, he is talking about things that they necessarily don't want other people to know about. And that's just what I believe, at least. That's what I believe. Now, it could be the case of when the anime does come out, then they just lift the restrictions on the manga, but ask any Kagurabachi YouTuber, or not even ask anybody who has covered Kagurabachi, they will tell you that Shueisha has flown a copyright strike at their channel within days. To put this into perspective, you only get copyright strikes from Shueisha usually when you are covering something early. That is it. It literally doesn't matter what you cover in Kagurabachi. The chapter could be 2 years old, but they will still strike you for it. There is no reason as to why they are doing this, but they do this. And that is why I believe that Shueisha, the way they treat Kagurabachi as an entire just piece of media and fiction, is absolutely horrendous. It's terrible. It's genuinely appalling. Now, the other anime that I want to talk about is one of the biggest ones out there, and you'd be surprised at how terrible Shueisha is treating it, but it's Dragon Ball. Now, after Toriyama's passing, there have been a few things that have been flowing around. Now, after the passing of Toriyama, there are a few things flowing around about just who is able to run Dragon Ball and who is able to just do things with Dragon Ball, and it's been a constant back and forth. And this right here is enough to tell me that whatever's going on over there is insane, because I think even before that there was a little bit of a battle, and the way this series as a whole is being treated is absolutely insane. And the reason I say this is because the coverage of the Dragon Ball anime and just how Dragon Ball has been treated for the past few years, ever since I would say 2018, it seems like more of a backseat anime compared to One Piece. Now, I'm not here to say, oh, One Piece is taking Dragon Ball shine. No. I genuinely do think that, especially with the way Toei is moving, for some reason, One Piece is getting a lot more of the shine. Now, I do get it. Yes, One Piece is now becoming their next biggest thing. You're going to obviously push it. But at the exact same time, would you not want two biggest things out there? Why is Dragon Ball being hindered so much? Now, I know in the Dragon Ball community, there are a few things floating around where people think that, oh, it's a One Piece versus Dragon Ball thing when it comes down to how these companies are pushing them out. And it was the case that as soon as Dragon Ball ended in 2018, the jump inside of animation for both series, when it came down to obviously Dragon Ball's movies and obviously Daima and then just the whole Wano arc, the jump was insane. Anybody that watched Super and One Piece Weekly could tell you that the animation that Toei was putting out beforehand was terrible, but after that it then got better. So instantly you can just say that, okay, when one series stops, the other series gets the full focus, but if both series are running at the exact same time, then maybe the animation may drop. Now, that would be the case 8 years ago, but we're in 2025, where animators are way better than they were then, and you don't need to necessarily put out the animes consistently. And they've even shown that, yes, we are going to stop putting One Piece out weekly. So why can't Dragon Ball be promoted more? Why can't you make different series? Why is Dragon Ball being hindered and paused so much, when we do know that Dragon Ball is a perfect place to keep, if I'm being real, milk things out of? Dragon Ball is a series where you have a lot of material there that you can cover. If you really wanted to, you can make an anime over Xenoverse, and I doubt people would ever get upset. But obviously what we want animated is the manga. And why they haven't animated the manga yet is still beyond a lot of our heads. Why has Shueisha, and we know that it's not Toei, it's Shueisha, because none of the Dragon Ball games are allowed to touch anything that the manga has put out. It's almost like Dragon Ball Super manga is just blacklisted from anything. There are barely any toys on it, there's barely any coverage of it anywhere. It's just literally, oh, if you're in the Dragon Ball community or just even the anime community, then yeah, you'll know about all the stuff that's went on inside the manga. But if you aren't, if you're just a casual fan, you probably wouldn't know that Super has a manga that's like past the Tournament of Power. Is that not insane? And is that not just disrespecting Dragon Ball as a whole? Because if I were Toei, or not even Toei, if I was Shueisha, I would want to make sure that everything is covered and you can get more money out of Dragon Ball. That's the whole entire thing. And this is why a lot of people inside the Dragon Ball community, and especially inside the Kagurabachi community, do believe that Shueisha genuinely just has zero respect for their series. And I know the entire manga community will say that, yeah, Shueisha has no respect for any of these series deep down, because if they did, then they'll give their mangakas way better schedules, and on top of that, they will be promoted way better. But of late, these two series are the ones that I do want to focus on the most, because number one, you're limiting their reach, whether it be through YouTube, as there are a lot of anime fans that do come from YouTube. That is an actual thing. Like, you can get your anime to a different level if you're allowing YouTubers to just cover it. That is a thing. Or just post it in other areas. And number two, the way they've handled these mangakas, whether it be past them being here or them just being here and working for them relentlessly, is absolutely horrendous. And I wanted to make this video to shine a light on these two series particularly, because Dragon Ball is going through a different thing that Kagurabachi is going through. While Kagurabachi is going through the regular thing that most mangakas go through, Dragon Ball is going through a different and weirdly unique scenario. Why that is the case, I have absolutely no idea. But what Hokuzono is going through right now, and I'll say especially on the YouTube coverage and just them being able to just strike anything or take down anything or just anywhere else when it comes down to Kagurabachi, I think this needs to be talked about. Because limiting your series that could propel these mangakas or just do great things for your company makes zero sense. Why would you hinder it? Now, should this be a video on how poorly Shueisha is handled and how poorly the top execs are used and how poorly they just promote everything? Because even just come down to Dragon Ball's promotion on how they do it. It's very, very old school. Who remembers when Superhero was dropping? That was old school. Daima was only hyped up to the point it was hyped up. If we're being honest, Toriyama's eventual demise was, it had to play a factor in it. Daima wasn't being pushed to certain degrees that I would say even One Piece was pushed. Superhero wasn't pushed that great. I mean, Brody was pushed to a decent level. But no, Shueisha, the way they promote these series is absolutely horrendous. And I do believe that we have a lot of discussions on it, but I think we need to like really have a real discussion on how they're treating Kagurabachi and especially Dragon Ball. That is the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, as I certainly did enjoy making it. When I was on the stream the other day, I was like, yeah, I was seeing them half completed panels by Hokuzono, and I said, damn, they got him locked in a lab. And it's like, it's sad because you can see when he actually gets time, and you can see when he helps out other people with their mangas and stuff. It looks beautiful, but they really are destroying their own stars. And one thing I do want to say is that I feel like with your stars, they should get special privileges. If you watch sports, then you'd understand that stars get special privileges. Role players don't, but stars do, and these guys are stars. But anyway, yeah, I shall see you guys next video. I love you all. Goodbye.